folks. Welcome to another Wilhelm ADHD video. So for today I want to talk about RSD, and some of y'all are probably like, Wilhelm, another RSD video? You already have one. I know, but I wasn't in it. I'm just kidding. Well, the reason why we're making another one is because I spoke about, hey, it kind of sucks when it happens. Let's talk about how we feel about it and a couple of surface level things, what we can do. I want to make another video on how we can really help ourselves out in the middle of experiences. And I've read and researched and also tried out some various methods myself and have seen what works for other people and what works for me. So I wanted to share it along with y'all, the ADHD community, and see if hopefully some of these can work out for you guys. So part one of the video is going to be how to handle RSD in the middle of the madness while you're going through an episode. And part two, how do we prepare for the next time it happens? What to look out for? What can we use? What's available to us? How can we diminish what's going on and make the intensity sort of stop? And there is ways, because RSD really hurts. And for those of us who are like, Wilhelm, what the heck are you talking about? What is RSD? What is rejection sensitive dysphoria? Well, up above, you're going to see a link to a video that I made talking about that and the different impacts that RSD has. Rejection sensitive dysphoria really stops us from doing a lot of stuff. In a short manner, RSD, basically people who have ADHD, most people who have ADHD experience something known as rejection sensitive dysphoria, RSD for short, where when they feel like someone's going to criticize or reject them, or when somebody actually criticizes or rejects them, or they interpret it that way, that it feels absolutely brutal, like you never want to speak to that person again. Depression, people have said it feels like depression. They feel like they don't want to be alive that day, and horrible, really extreme emotional mood swings that just go pretty intense and go down pretty south. You tie in trauma to that, with a lot of people with ADHD have gone through. It's a mess, and it's tough because we don't want to ever experience some of those things again. So we go through pretty extreme measures to not experience that again. And a lot of the time, some of us don't know what's going on. So if you need more clarification in areas of that nature, I made a video about that in case you guys want to check that out, because it's a pretty big deal. RSD even impacted me, for a while. So once I read up more about it, I was like, man, we got to talk more about this. And the cool thing is RSD is becoming more commonly known, as I see on different social media sites and other ADHD websites I work with. So I'm like, that's pretty cool, man, that we're making it really kind of a common knowledge thing that RSD is real, and we got to be, considerate to it. But at the same time, we can't just slack off and be like, all right, just be considerate, and then we don't work on ourselves. It doesn't work like that. We have to want to improve. We have to want to refine and help ourselves out so we can tame and conquer the RSD, and so we can help our fellow ADHD comrades conquer their RSD as well. What do you say? Well, regardless of what you say, the video is going to go forward. So anyway, though, with good intentions. Anyway, the first part of the video is going to be about how to handle RSD when you're in the middle of it, and the second part of the video is going to be how to prepare yourself, what tools you can use, and how you can use your previous RSD experiences to help you out for the ones that are coming up in the future. I truly believe you can conquer it and you can handle it. It just takes discipline, follow-up, and most of all, you got to face some of those thoughts that are a little hard to face sometimes. So we can do it, though. Utilize the resources of your community. If you need therapy or counseling, look for a counselor or therapist in your area that can help you out. Or an ADHD coach or some sort of assistance that's helpful to you. That way you can work through your stuff and better work on your ADHD and tame your ADHD to be the best you that you can be. With that being said, let's go into part one of the video. Grounding oneself when RSD strikes. Point number 1. Remind yourself internally that you have RSD, that it's okay to feel it, and that you can overcome it. Point number 2. If the intensity is too strong, go to a quiet place where you can be alone for a few minutes. Point 3. Once you're in that quiet place, start utilizing deep breathing. This can dramatically calm you down and can diminish/eliminate the RSD in that moment. These next few steps will guide you in terms of the breathing technique and how it can be executed. Part 1 of the breathing technique. Find a quiet place, a place where you can sit down, preferably alone. Sit firmly with your back straight, shoulders relaxed, legs shoulder width apart, hands on your lap, and feet planted on the ground. And making sure to close both eyes. This is going to help you focus a lot better. Make sure to have your eyes closed as you're meditating. Step 2, the breathing technique. Take a deep inhale through the nostrils. Hold for a few seconds. Hold for a few seconds. Then once you exhale through the mouth, make sure to make a small O shape with the front of your lips when exhaling for about 10 seconds. Make sure your shoulders aren't rising up as you're inhaling and exhaling these breaths. When exhaling, what I want you to do is I want you to think of a word that brings you positive imagery, vibes, and memories to you. Essentially a word that brings you to your happy place. Let's try that breathing technique again. This time, when you're exhaling with the small O shape through your lips, I want you to think of that positive word. Let me give you just a few seconds to think about it. Okay, now that you've been given a few seconds to think of this positive inducing word, let's move on and try again. And for those of you who have not thought of a word just yet, just pause the video and press play when you're ready with your word. Anyway, let's try that again. Let's try that breathing technique again. But this time, when we exhale, let's think of that positive word. Inhale through the nose for about 5 seconds. Hold, think of that word. Small O through the lips and let out a breath for 10 seconds. Let's try that again. Back straight. Inhale. Hold, think of the word. Exhale. Step 3. Do 20 of these inhale-exhale exercises when you feel that your RSD is getting a little too intense. If the RSD is feeling really intense, do the breathing technique for about 10 minutes, give or take. Practicing this daily or a couple of times a week is going to cause your brain and your body to go back to that really relaxed, positive feeling when you think of the word. That word now will have physiological positive powers that will physiologically put your body and your mind on check. That's why it's really helpful to have this. These techniques are the basis of a transcendental meditation. So if you would like to look further into transcendental meditation, there are plenty of videos on YouTube and all over the internet for it. But for the sake of this exercise to tame RSD, this is what you can do and give it a shot. With transcendental meditation, you practice this activity for 15 to 30 minutes twice a day. It can be separated into day and night, a few hours in between each. But for those of us who are beginning and have ADHD, doing this for just 5 minutes can make the biggest difference in the world. It takes time and it takes follow-up, but this can certainly put us on check with the RSD, especially when it gets a little out of hand. Now that we've done the breathing exercise, from point 3, let's go on to point 4. After you've utilized the breathing exercise, stay in the quiet place for a few minutes to reflect on what you perhaps did not reflect upon earlier, like seeing the perspective and point of view of the person, people, or situation that triggered your RSD. Reanalyzing the situation to see what could be done better next time. I know it's a lot easier said than done, but after doing the breathing exercise, you're going to calm down a little bit, so this should not be all that difficult. It might be for some people, but we got to give it a shot. Moving on, analyzing both your faults and the faults of those who triggered your RSD. We got to look at what issues were done to us, also what issues we brought forth as well. It's a mutual thing, it's a bridge, and it goes both ways. We have to look at what we did wrong as well as the other person. It's a bridge that goes both ways. We got to look at what we did wrong and what the other person might have done wrong. And a lot of the time, those people who don't have ADHD aren't aware of that. So this is where the communication is helpful. But when we're in a better state of mind, as will be mentioned later on. Anyway, reflect upon the pros and cons of how you handled yourself. Reflect and take a deep dive into what mainly triggers your RSD. Write them down, know them, memorize them, and tame them. I know for me, I have written down some of the things over the years that have really kind of knocked out my RSD, and I try to keep them on check. And I truly believe that those of you hearing this who have an issue with RSD can do the same thing. And that's why I wanted to make this video. So if you feel like you have more reflecting to do, stay in that place for a few more minutes. If any of your family members or friends come looking for you, for the most part, they're just going to want to help you out. Just give them the reassurance that you're okay and you're just reflecting on some stuff, and you'll be with them again shortly. Or if you need some more time, just be honest with them. It's really hard for a lot of people to admit when they've done something wrong, when they need a little help, or when something's a little too intense for them. So, yeah, just let them know I need some time, and I'll be there soon. They just want the same reassurance you do. If they're your family or friends, they care about you, they're just going to want that reassurance that you're okay. So, like I said before, it's a bridge that goes both ways. Just like you need their reassurance, they also need your reassurance as well. Communication is key. And I know when RSD hits, it can be very hard. Anyway, point number 5. Later that day, treat yourself to something nice. RSD can be tough. It does not have to be anything extravagant. Perhaps your favorite ice cream, show, film, video game, etc. That is your go-to pick-me-up when you're not feeling all that good. So I hope that meditative exercise was of some benefit and really helped you out, because meditation, breathing deep, slow, in, out, Breaths, yeah, really good for the brain, really helpful for ADHD. So once we slow the brain down and get those secondary waves coming in where we can just relax and mellow out, we can really reflect upon what needs to be reflected upon, which is grounding yourself, practicing mindfulness, being aware of your mind and where it's going and your thoughts, as opposed to letting your thoughts drive and dominate you where they want to take you. I know it's easier said than done, but I really do recommend that if you practice, you can really tame those negative intrusive thoughts that sort of dominate and drive some people who get really anxious or who let the RSD dominate them. It just takes time and effort. And if you practice the breathing like that with your word that helps you out, just thinking of that word's gonna be able to help you get out of that funk and just look at RSD for what it is and be like, I'm experiencing RSD. I'm not gonna let it dominate me. I'm not gonna let it dominate me. I'm gonna go into it and try to improve what I can and hope for the best and be realistic about where you're at and about the skills that you got. There's always room for a little improvement. But don't be too hard on yourself either. It's all about balance. Anyway, with that point being said now, let's talk about how do we prepare for RSD if it's such a brutal thing and it's just like, it's emotionally paralyzing, some people have told me. Wilhelm, it's pretty brutal. What can we do? Well, we can do quite a bit of things. And the next couple of things I'm going to tell y'all are things that I've seen on forums, things that I've seen in research, and things that I've used myself that have worked for me. So that's a nice little pastiche, if you will, of information. So see what works for you. Try some stuff out, if you will. And talk to your healthcare provider, professional, if you're concerned about any of these things, and see if you can give it a shot. And hopefully you can improve upon your ADHD, and most importantly, take care of your RSD the next time it comes up. Let's see what we can do. Now let's go on to the second part. How to be prepared for RSD / how to diminish its chances of occurrence. Point number 1. If you're going to a place that has a high RSD triggering potential for you, make sure to eat something prior. Going somewhere or doing something on an empty stomach can make our emotions more intense, and our focus can get even more out of whack. So we can certainly misinterpret certain things, make more mistakes, or take stuff much more intensely and emotionally. So that's really important. Lack of sleep and lack of nutrition, food, for those of us who have ADHD is going to put a lot of us on edge and might even trigger the RSD to be set off a lot sooner than otherwise would. So just something to look out for. Number 2, let a trustworthy family member or friend know about how RSD affects you. That way, you'll have some support when needed. If it helps, bring one of them with you. But know and understand that eventually, you will need the resilience to take on RSD at times on your own. We're not always going to have the people that we need next to us. A lot of times in life, we got to take our stand and do stuff on our own. A lot of time in life, we got to take a stand and do stuff on our own, and that's perfectly fine. But if in the beginning you need that support system, that's totally fine too. It's a work in progress. So, yes, bring a friend or family member with you, someone you can trust, and be open with them about how RSD affects you. Or you can have them on speed dial and give them a call to come and get you or help you out if you need it. But work on yourself. Don't let that be a crutch for you. You have to learn to manage and tame your RSD and not have it dominate you, because you are bigger than your RSD. Because you are bigger than your RSD. Number 3, when your RSD is set off, try to improve upon the things that you did not perform well in the previous time. Here's where you can break out your phone notes from your previous RSD experience. This can be very helpful, especially after we've tried the meditation exercise that we spoke about in the first part of the video, where you can look at your notes of how you performed well in your last RSD experience and how you performed bad and what you can do to improve upon. This is going to be very helpful, but it's going to take some follow-up and some effort. But we got to be realistic about our abilities and what we're improving or not improving upon. We got to be realistic, we got to be real, and sometimes that's a little hard for some of us, but it's okay. I believe we can do it. Point number 4, once you are in a calm, more upbeat mood and feel like the RSD has wore off, talk to a trustworthy family member or friend about it. If one of your own family members or friends caused your RSD to be set off, talk to them in a calm and understanding manner and let them know how what they did negatively impacted you in a big way. Hint, it usually really helps when both parties can agree to be better / more helpful the next time around. Now, this is not guaranteed that the other person's going to react positive to this, unfortunately. And in some families or in some friend circles, other people have RSD as well. And in some families and in some friend circles, the other person might have ADHD and RSD as well. So they can feel like you really rejected them or made them feel bad. If this is the case, talk to them little by little about ADHD and RSD. Some people are not going to be ready to hear it right then and there, and that's okay. ADHD is a really big subject matter that a lot of people cannot come to grips with, or a lot of people have trouble accepting it because the media sometimes still has a lot of negative light on mental health. It's been improving in some regards, but some people still view mental health and talking about it really negatively. That's certainly not the case in this channel, because I believe we need to be open to discussion. Because I believe here that we need to be open to discussion. And at a pace, when I'm working with somebody, a pace that works for them, because not everyone's ready to just do a deep dive into ADHD, especially if they have it. It takes time. I have a link above if there's anyone that wants to check out a video on the acceptance of ADHD and coming to terms with thinking or knowing that you might have ADHD or a family member might have it. There's a link above where I speak in a really candid and warm manner in regards of why ADHD can be a hard thing to process, accept, whether it's with you, a family member, or a friend. So, that video hopefully can be of some help to some people on here. So, really check it out if you feel the need to. Point number 5. You can also utilize a fidget toy / calming device, and this can be quite helpful. This can help calm you down, can help ease the nerves. There's all sorts of fidget toys. You just check Amazon, and there's a ton of stuff there. And I left a couple of helpful links down below where you can look into that as well, and hopefully that might be of some help to you. So, the final point for the second part of this video, point 6, remember, it takes follow-up and determination. Handling and managing RSD is not an overnight thing. It's not a week or a weekend or month thing either. It's going to take a lot longer than that. But with enough effort, determination, and follow-up, it's entirely possible to manage and tame RSD. So, that brings us to the conclusion of this video. Rejection-sensitive dysphoria is a pretty important, pretty brutal set of factors that come into play for a lot of us with ADHD. Hopefully this video was of some guidance. It was of some help and information for you and for someone you know who experiences this. If you or somebody you know has RSD, they have ADHD and they have RSD as well, share with them this video. You never know how much help something like this can bring somebody. So you never know the blessing you might give someone. And hey, it doesn't have to be my video. It can be another RSD video. The point is, help out people in the ADHD community. If you find out some good information, share it along with the rest of the tribe. Been through quite a bit. I think we deserve a little bit of help. What do you think? I hope your answer is yes. Regardless though, this is Wilhelm, your ADHD comrade. Over. And out.